All right, and welcome to the 39th episode of the Online Network of Independent Learning Professionals. Today, we're going to be speaking with Taylor Croonquist. Is that how you say your last name? Sorry, as you take a drink of water.
Yeah, it's Taylor Croonquist. It's Swedish.
Croonquist. Oh, wonderful. We're going to be talking about nuts and bolts speed training, and Taylor was recommended by one of our community members, Diane, and so I'm super excited. She found a lot of value in what Taylor is doing at Nuts and Bolts, and so I'm excited to learn what she already has seen. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. We're going to switch to Taylor's in just a moment. Just like always, as Taylor is chatting, if anybody has questions about things that we're seeing, and then feel free to put the questions in the chat, and we can walk through those. We'll also have some time at the end for Q&A. And with that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Taylor. Maybe, Taylor, tell us a little bit about yourself and nuts and bolts and kind of what we're going to be talking about today, and we can jump right in.
Okay. Let's see here. Do I have my screen up now? Is it there?
It is not there just yet, so go ahead and do the share screen once more.
Okay.
And while we're getting this up and going, just so everyone knows, I'm going to put everyone on mute except for Taylor. That way we don't have any feedback. Okay, so perfect. Now we can see the tips and tricks saving you hours.
All right, so my name's Taylor. Our website is called Nuts and Bolts Speed Training, which is really focused on speed and efficiency, primarily around PowerPoint. I lived in China for 10 years, working in investment banking and consulting, doing inbound, outbound transactions, and really spent the majority of my time working in PowerPoint and Excel. So to me, speed was always of the utmost importance. And so this deck, or what we can hopefully try to help you do today, is double your productivity by looking at a variety of hacks, tips, and tricks that not a lot of people are talking about. So this isn't necessarily the content of your presentation. I'm going to assume you either know what that's supposed to be or that your client is kind of forcing you to use whatever it is. This is really kind of the nuts and bolts mechanics of how you're going to start to work through stuff. And I'll just go to full screen here for a second. I hope this works. There we go. So the majority of this is really about breaking stuff. So we're going to be looking at breaking tables, charts, SmartArt. And if we have time, I'm also going to show you how to make something like this. So this is 60 PowerPoint slides layered on top of each other. You can use Excel to basically help you crank this out. It's kind of an unknown hack of working between the two programs. Because if I just come out of this for a second, this is really just a picture. It looks like just a picture. So this again is just, you can see the picture tools format tab up there. 60 slides all layered on top of each other. And what I really like to call this is my PowerPoint pest control webinar, which is really getting rid of the rats, or what I call repetitive, annoying tasks. So these are the things that you're probably doing over and over and over and over again in the program. And this is not exclusive to PowerPoint, Word, Excel, Outlook, PowerPoint, that you probably think there's got to be a better way to do this, but you've just never thought about it or figured out how to do it. So hopefully this will help to whoever's watching. And I just spilled my coffee. Whoops. There we go. Sorry about that.
You're really into it. We can tell you're
gosh,
very passionate. Just throwing things all over.
There we go. So hopefully this can really help you out. And I think that with this material, you can at least double your productivity in PowerPoint. And the scary thing of this is, from my perspective, is most of this stuff is 10-year-old features. So Microsoft by my estimate, spent about $7.5 billion upgrading the Office suite from 2003 to 2007. And almost nobody that I ever meet is using any of these features, right? Maybe they know about them kind of theoretically, but they're not using them. So this isn't even about brand new stuff. It's brand new stuff that's a decade old, or what I call the lost decade of productivity. So I really hope that this inspires you guys to think a little bit differently about the tasks that you're tackling, or how you're going about tackling them, because that's really how you start to turn these 10, 20, 30, 40-minute tasks and start crunching them out in 2 minutes, a minute, and 30 seconds, and really reclaiming a lot of time that you might be probably are investing, struggling with a lot of stuff. So that's what I'm always talking about when I'm talking about speed. I'm not talking about taking shortcuts or taking bad shortcuts with your content. And at Nuts and Bolts, that's why we kind of have the tagline, getting you to happy hour. So we're always trying to help people, you know, kind of crunch through the material a lot faster to actually get out of the office. That's my mugshot, but you can see me on the video. I started my career in PricewaterhouseCoopers. I worked in China for 10 years. Again, like you said, most recently for an investment bank. So these are kind of programs that are close to my heart and stuff that I still work at, trying to be faster and more efficient with my stuff. So hopefully I want to kick off and really talk about the first pillar. This is going to seem like the super most non-sexy topic ever, but it's really kind of sharpening the tools you already have. And when it comes to being fast, really anything on your computer, this is going to sound super stupid, but it really is that speed is on your keyboard. This is where so many people are losing so much time working their computer from their mouse. And I'm going to show you how you don't even have to memorize the shortcuts to make this happen. All right, that's how cool some of these features are. And this, again, is applicable to Word, Excel, if you use Outlook, really just kind of any kind of Microsoft Office product. So this is a quadruple or quintuplet dipper, if you want to call it that, that you can start to use. And it really breaks down to this. I'll go through this really quickly. So if this is a standard PC keyboard, all right, these orange keys are your shortcut accelerators. You're really looking at your Alt, Control, and Shift key, and typically you're using the ones on the left. All right, and you're going to use these blue keys are the shortcut keys, so those go with the orange key. And if you look at this, you might be surprised or think about is what are all of those 1 through 7 number shortcuts. So those are what are called QAT keyboard shortcuts. I'm going to show you how to set those up, and I'm going to give you what I consider the $1 million PowerPoint shortcut, which is Alt-1, and it takes about 30 seconds to set up. So we'll get into that in a second. Also, PowerPoint-wise, speed is on the keyboard, but you do need... Did a mouse pop up there? I can't see the right side of my screen. Let me see. Yes, you do need a mouse, all right? PowerPoint's still a click and drag heavy program, but you do need a mouse. And I mean this when I say this, that means your trackpad and the dot in the middle of your computer does not count. That's like on the airplane, you have to use something. That's absolutely slow for doing anything in PowerPoint. It has to be a dedicated mouse. And the reason is, this is what your hands look like. I'm gonna point this out. All right, if these are your hands on your keyboard, every time that you don't know the keyboard shortcut, and I'm going to show you how to do this without memorizing them, you have to reach for your mouse. You then have to go scroll around and find it up in the ribbon. Maybe you even go and scroll around and find it again if you're like most people. And then you have to put your hands back on your keyboard. So this is really where people are, 4x, 5, 10 times slower trying to find these things instead of just parking their hands on their keyboard and doing it. So I am going to go through these out of full screen in just a second, but has anyone on the call ever seen these numbers at the top of their ribbon? The alphabetical numbers across the top and the numeric numbers across the bottom. All right, these are the ribbon guides and QAT guides. Right, so those are your ribbon guides up top, and these are your QAT guides. These are basically your visual shortcuts to just about anything in PowerPoint. And a lot of people have never seen them before. If they have seen them, we're like, I don't know what those are, and are on to the next thing. So let me quickly go through the ribbon guides and show you why this is cool and how this works. So if I just come into the normal view of PowerPoint, all right, I don't have anything fancy set up. To activate your ribbon guides, you hit and let go of the Alt key. So these do not require you to hold down anything. If you look across the top of my screen, if I hit and let go of the Alt key, excuse me, you can see all these numbers. So the way this works is those are your visual guides to anything that you want in PowerPoint. So for example, if I want to go find the bullet command, I'll escape out of it. So I'd hit and let go of the Alt key. There's my alphabetical numbers. I'll hit the H key for home, which will rotate me to the home tab in PowerPoint and then give me a whole nother set of shortcuts to get to the next set of things. After a while, you do have to find these the first time. Bullets is U. All right, so then the bullet dialog pops open, and then still keeping my hands on my keyboard, I can then use my mouse to select my bullet points. So that's using your ribbon guides, which instead of going to the home tab, going to the bullet drop down, right, and then picking your bullets. So if you're doing this in real time, once you get used to this, really just Alt-H-U will walk you forward to something. All right, and another kind of quick point, if you hit the Alt key and you start to walk forward through your shortcuts, so if I hit H for home, and I want to go back, you just hit escape to walk back a level. So you can kind of walk forward a level following the keystrokes. through the ribbon, and then you can go back a level by hitting escape, and you can close them at any time by hitting the Alt key again. And this works particularly well like for going back and forth between your slide masters. So instead of having to remember how to get to your slide master, if you hit and let go of the Alt key once, all right, you hit W for view tab, you hit M for the slide master. This is how you can quickly pop to your slide master, make some adjustments. Again, not taking your hands off your keyboard. You can Alt, all right, W for view, L, and jump back to the normal view. And in real time, once you get this down, it's really just Alt WM. You're going to flip there, Alt WL, you're right back. I mean, you really start to cut out a lot of this kind of in-between time that you otherwise get stuck with. All right, so those are the ribbon guides across the top of the screen. But the more exciting one is really these QAT guides. And this is where, if you've read a PowerPoint book or an Excel book, you might have had this described to you a little bit. But I want to give you something, what I call the $1 million shortcut, because I think once you really see how this can be strategically used, it'll really make you think completely different about this band in PowerPoint. And just a couple points that I want to give you before we get there is, number one, you want to save this QAT band for non-standardized things. So if you look down here below on my screen right now, and I've accidentally doubled up a couple of this. It's not supposed to be Control S. This is what most people's QAT looks like. It has 5 commands on it. They have save, which is really just Control S. They have undo, which should be Control Z, not Control S. They have redo, which is really Control Y. So they basically just have shortcuts that already have an easy shortcut here. So you don't want to put these kind of shortcuts on your QAT. It's a waste of space. Second thing is you want to save this for commands that have 4 to 5 ribbon guides deep into the ribbon. So you can use your ribbon guides to get at everything. When you start to strategically think about these things in PowerPoint, Excel, Word, you really want to put those far and hard to reach commands on your QAT. And I'm going to show you one in a second. And then if you really want to get, into speed, down and dirty, you really want to start thinking about the order that you put your commands in, because it makes a huge difference. So in PowerPoint, which is where we spend the most of our time doing our trainings, I like to think is the first 1 through 9 slots, and again, I'm going to show you how to set this up in a second, is the keyboard section. So these are all your formatting shortcuts, your alignment shortcuts, flipping shortcuts, layering shortcuts, stuff like that, things that don't require you to use your mouse. And then everything else is really what I call the mouse section, which is things like shapes, charts, crop stuff. Because even if you use your keyboard to get to it, for example, a chart, you still have to use your mouse to draw it on your slide. So there's really no advantage to putting it in one of these shorter keyboard sequences here, because once they come over here, they start doubling up in numbers. All right, that's a little bit more advanced. We probably can't get too far into that, but that's just a heads up of a way to start thinking about this even more strategically. And let's just look at, I'm gonna hit escape, what I consider the $1 million shortcut. And I'm just gonna take it off of my screen really quick so we can set this up. So what I mean by, remember when I said 4 or 5 ribbon guide deeps? Let's say that I wanted to use the alignment tool to align these 2 rectangles that I have selected on my screen. This is obviously not, everything's not perfectly aligned. If I use my ribbon guides, just to give you what I mean by that, the count, if I hit and let go of the Alt key, you can see my ribbon guides, that would be 1. If I hit the H key on my keyboard, that would be 2 strokes. If I hit the G key, I would get the arrange drop down, and then I'd have to hit A for align, and then I'd have to hit T for top to do a top alignment on these, all right? So what you want to do instead, all right, and everybody can do this. You're with your mouse, come to the Home tab. It takes 30 seconds the first time to set this up. With your mouse, come to the arrange drop down. I need to move the window here. Come to the arrange drop down. You're going to right-click the alignment tool here in this drop-down menu at the group level. Don't come and do it at the individual level. Come and do it at the group level. Select Add to Quick Access Toolbar. All right. Here's mine on my Quick Access Toolbar. Yours might be above your ribbon. It's either above or below your ribbon. I recommend having it below. What you're going to do now is you're going to come to at the end of your QAT. You're going to open up this little downward-facing arrow. All right. Come to More Commands. This might be a new place for some of you. This is where you can basically do a bunch of customizations with PowerPoint. This is particularly for the Quick Access Toolbar. This is where if you've lost the command from a previous version of PowerPoint, it's in here. All right? Some of the commands got moved out of the ribbon, out of the file menus. They're still there. You can still access them. You just have to set it up. Anyway, come and find the Align Objects tool here on the right. Just click it all the way to the top. Click, 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 click. So it's in the first position. That's all you need to do. Hit OK, and you're done. From this point forward, once you have that set up, if you wanted to align, for example, these rectangles to the top, you hit and let go of the Alt key once. Your guides pop open on my screen. I'll go through this slowly the first time. Hit the 1 key on my keyboard, which is the easiest of the commands to hit. That's why I call this the $1 million shortcut. Align to top is T for top. Boom. Everything pops into top alignment. You have your other objects, they need to be bottom aligned. Hit and let go of the Alt key. They pop open. Hit the 1 key. Your alignment tool pops down. Hit the B key. Boom. They snap into bottom alignment, right? You can do center alignments. If I just unalign this, chart a little bit, if this is you building your slide and it didn't look right, Alt-1-C for center, Alt-1-M for middle alignment, they're going to pop into place. You can also, right, left alignments. I mean, this makes everything that you do in PowerPoint so much easier. If everything's offset to the right a little bit, you just select it, Alt-1-C for center, it's going to pop it back. So this is getting into the concept of relative alignment and positioning, which is something that we teach in some of our courses, which basically is using the objects on your slide to push and pull other objects to the perfect relative alignment and positioning. And to me, that's really kind of the bare bones for professional slides. Things have to be aligned because they stick out like a sore thumb. So use that shortcut, Alt-1. You can play around with some other stuff, but that's what I consider the $1 million shortcut. It should save you a bunch of time. And again, if I go to full screen to the next slide, that's a 10-year-old feature. It exists in PowerPoint, it exists in Word, it exists in Excel, it exists in Microsoft Project, it exists in Microsoft Outlook. And I mean, almost nobody that I meet is using that ever. Like, I show that to them and their eyes bog out, okay? So that's a super cool feature you can use. And one of the kind of core tools that you can kind of use to start to double, triple, or even quadruple your speed and productivity in PowerPoint. Okay, so that's kind of the non-sexy stuff. Let's now get into some of the kind of hacks and tricks that were also added to PowerPoint, again, 10 years ago. And the first trick is breaking SmartArt. Do people on the call use SmartArt? Some people are really impassioned either for or against SmartArt. Do people use SmartArt? Yes, people like it or not.
Yep. Yeah, looks like people are using it. I also use it.
Okay.
A lot of yeses.
Oh, actually, I'm sorry, I'm breaking tables. We're going to do the SmartArt breaking in a second. We're breaking tables first. I got ahead of myself.
That was a sneak peek.
SmartArt, because I'm going to show you how to break that too. So let's first look at breaking tables and charts. So if I come into PowerPoint, the question or the task here, the speed training task is, if this was your table and this is just a normal table, right? Using the table tool design tab with my ribbon. The question is, if you had to get all of this information out of your table, how would you do it without retyping any of your text? Right? Same thing is true for this chart on the right. How would you, if this was your chart and you wanted to build a data visualization where you weren't just grabbing a rectangle and trying to draw it on top to be perfect, how would you break out all of the individual pieces of your chart so you might build something like this? I just kind of put this together. So this is not a table. This is shapes, lines, and text boxes. A lot of consultants do stuff like this, breaking their objects into individual things. And same thing on the right here. This is not a chart. This is shapes, lines, and text boxes, all right? And nothing wrong with that, but the question again is, how do you do it without having to retype any of your text? So I'm going to show you a way that works for both. There's a couple ways to do this, but I'm going to show you the first one. So with a table, the way that you can break a table out, if you take your table, any table will work. You Control-X to cut it. All right, so Control-X on your keyboard. You can come, if you don't like keyboard shortcuts, from the Home tab, the Paste drop-down. There's a Paste Special command right there, if you've never seen that before. Also notice if you hover there that PowerPoint will typically, this works for all Office programs, will give you the hint and a half for the keyboard shortcut you should be using. So if instead you just hit Control-Alt-V on your keyboard, you're going to open up the Paste Special dialog box. All right, this is where you can get a bunch of different picture options for pasting in PowerPoint. Here, what you're looking for is these meta file formats. So the picture meta file or the Windows meta file, either one will work. You're going to paste it. Okay. You get a picture of your table, which seems like a horrible idea. Why would you want a picture of your table? I'm going to make it bigger so you can see it. All right. But what the trick about a meta file is that you can ungroup it. So if I hit Control-Shift-G on my keyboard, Control-Shift-G once, I get a warning sign. Control-Shift-G a second time will actually break this out into shapes, lines, and text boxes that I can now grab, move around, do anything I want with. And this brings up an epic trick with the selection pane, all right? Because this is, if I just start to pull this apart, this is a bunch of different lines. You know, you do get a lot of individual pieces that pop out. If I hit Alt F10 to open up my selection pane, again, if you don't know your shortcuts, if you come up to the Home tab, all right, come to the Arrange drop down, there's a selection pane, all right? And a lot of people talk about the selection pane as being this, you know, super duper command. This is one of the coolest times to actually use it. Because what the selection pane allows you to do if you've never been here, so as I scroll down, you can see all the different shapes on my slide and I can select them. And the sequence, or the, what's the word? The order that they're lined up here is the layers that they are on my slide. So I don't, you know, there's not a lot of tricks here, but watch what happens. If I said that I wanted to, you know, I want my net income numbers. This is a financial projection, for example. I can Control G to group them. Notice that the group forms automatically here in the selection pane, and I can hide them. Let's say I also wanted my revenue numbers from the table I just broke. I want to put those into my graph. I'm going to Control G to group them, to pop them all together, and I'm going to hide them. Once something is hidden in the selection pane, and I need to move my window again, once something's hidden in the selection pane, there is no way to select it on your slide. Look, I cannot select those objects, which means that I can select everything else. So you basically hide what you want to keep to delete or nuke everything else. If I then move my video thing back to the other side, which then allows me to show all, I can Alt F10 and close my selection pane, and now I have my two sets of objects, which are no longer tables, or just those shapes, lines, and text boxes, or rectangles that I can work with. So that's a quick hack to pull stuff out of a table. Same thing works with charts, all right, but there's a real key difference here, and something that's been added for 2016 that you need to be aware of. The thing to be aware of here, and again, the task that we're trying to do is to pull out these rectangles as rectangles. So what happens a lot of times, or at least in my industry when we were doing consulting and banking, is people would graph their charts, and then they would try to put rectangles over the top of them and try to get them to be precisely the chart, because they wanted to make a better data viz, you know, without using the chart. So they didn't want to have to overlay a bunch of stuff. So they would do that, and they would, you know, Control Shift drag down, and they would try to do the next one, and they would kind of do this little thing, but they'd always end up with kind of like a pretty close, you know, configuration, but it wasn't perfect. So how do you do this perfectly? The first trick, I'm going to Shift F5, is you have to have an outline on your chart. If you do not have an outline on your chart, this is not going to work. This is where people get messed up when they try to redo this on their own. This chart on the left will not break properly. This one on the right will. With a new caveat in 2016, if you're using it, I'll show you how to do that too. If I come out, so I'm going to get rid of my titles. I'm going to take my two charts. Same concept. You can do multiple charts or tables at the same time. Control X to cut, right? Control Alt V to paste special. Paste special dialog box. Same concept. Picture enhanced meta file. Paste. I get a picture. It looks like I'm not anywhere close to where I want to be. Control Shift G once. Control Shift G a second time. Notice here on the left, if I go and grab these, that they come out as one individual object. This is not, you know, 5 different rectangles to work with. You can still, right, I can still, if I use my fill colors, I can still color them, all right, but I can't individually format these or type into them. If I type my name, see my name goes there on the top, and I put it in the middle. So if you have PowerPoint 2007, 10, or 13, if you go and click your other chart, this will come out as individual shapes, but if you have 2016 like I do here, you're still going to get this kind of one object scenario. What you want to do, if you're 2016, you want to grab the outlines, all right? Grab the outlines like this. I'm going to delete everything else. You grab the outlines of your shapes. Let me just make this a little bit bigger. And you do it one more time, which is a pain. I don't know why they made us do this, but you do it one more time. Control X to cut. Control Alt V. Control Alt V to paste special. Enhance meta file, Control Shift G once, Control Shift G a second time. Now, these are individual rectangles that I can resize. I can do anything I want with. I can type into them. This makes doing data viz super easy because you can type into it, format them using your shortcuts or whatever else it is you're doing. So that is just a quick little trick for ways to break out your charts as objects like that. Using the meta file feature. Is there any questions on that before we go into the next one? I know that was a lot of stuff really quickly. I'm just gonna grab a quick sip of water.
Yeah, take your sip of water. Yeah, so Dennis had asked if you could ungroup the columns, the rows here, but it looks like you can, so that's great.
Yes.
And Robert was asking about if the customized QAT will sync with Office 365 from computer to computer, but it looks, Diane mentioned that that is possible, so that's great.
You can also import QATs. If you set up your QAT, all right, I go to the drop down, I go to more commands. You have an import export feature, so you can set it up once for your team, export it, and then they can just re-import it. In our trainings that we do, we just have the QAT as we have it set up, all ready to go, and we just have people import it right off the get-go. So that's just another kind of easy way to quickly share your customizations.
Very cool. So the ones, when you had the two charts side by side and one was on the left and it didn't have the outline, and we were talking about how you really can't do much if it doesn't have an outline, can you ungroup? I mean, can you ungroup the ones without an outline or just the ones with an outline?
No, it's the outline. It's the outline that makes the difference in 2016. Again, if you have 2007, 10, or 13, the first time you do it with an outline on the chart, it breaks perfectly. It just explodes. It's the individual pieces. It's really when you get to 2016, you have to do it twice on that second set of outlines. Why? I have no idea.
Oh, we like to go backwards like that sometimes. That's why.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Dennis uses 2013, so that'll work for you then, Dennis. That's great.
Cool.
Any other questions before we move on about what we've seen so far?
Yeah, and again, those are things that I've seen people spend a ton of time trying to retrace, retype, all this kind of stuff. And it's, again, one of those like hacks that if you know it, it's like, why would you ever go back and reinvent the wheel now if you know you can break your chart apart? You know you can rip your table apart. You can even, anyway, we can talk about going between an Excel and PowerPoint if we want to too, because there's some awesome hacks for ripping tables apart like that too, and flipping graphics and all that kind of stuff. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's keep going. If you guys are ready. Okay,
let's do it. Yeah, let's move forward.
All right, so next one's breaking SmartArt. I know a bunch of people said that they already use SmartArt. I like to say that SmartArt is great for inspiration. And as I'm going to show you, a super fast way to really crunch through your slides quickly with it. But PowerPoint isn't great for everything else. All right, it's difficult to work with. You can't align objects outside of SmartArt to objects within SmartArt. It's fidgety, and the biggest thing that I always tell people, the SmartArt's biggest problem is that it looks like SmartArt. All right, nobody's gonna give you kudo points if you just drop a big SmartArt graphic on your slide and call it the day, right? I mean, everybody's like, I could have built that. So you always want to customize away from SmartArt. This is one of the best ways to do it. So if this is my SmartArt graphic, all right, I'm just gonna move these. There's floating windows, crazy. So if I just start to work with this, let me see. I'll just show you a couple if you've not used a lot of Smart. So this is just a SmartArt graphic, and we can look at how to insert this in a second. But the problem with this is as you start to do this, like SmartArt will do like weird things to you as you try to like move things around. I mean, like, why did it just jump like that? I don't know. I'm going to Control-Z to undo that. If you're trying to, if I hit Shift F5, for consistency's sake, if this was your slide, you would probably want this first rectangle to be the same size as the second rectangle to be the same size as the third rectangle. All right, SmartArt does not really let you do this. So it's great in that there's no really way to kind of figure out exactly. And as I continue to like resize other things, the font changes. I mean, it just becomes a mess. And especially if you want to layer them side by side, I've seen people try to duplicate their SmartArt graphics like this, and they'll try to put two over here and two over there. But it really becomes this nightmare to unwind. So the trick to SmartArt is just like the meta file format, you can break it. And the way to break a SmartArt graphic is to Control-Shift-G. So if you take a SmartArt graphic, any SmartArt graphic, Control-Shift-G once, Control-Shift-G a second time. I'm going to Control-Z, don't do that. Look at the top of my screen here. So this is a SmartArt tool, right? So this is SmartArt as it is right now. If I select my SmartArt graphic, watch this part of my screen. I'll hit Control-Shift-G for ungroup once. It immediately becomes a drawing tools format tab. Control-Shift-G a second time. This is now shapes, lines, and text boxes that you can now move around and do anything that you want with. All right, so this is the fastest way that you can kind of take control back over your graphics. All right, you can do anything you want with this and take that same slide and in just a couple of minutes, maybe build something like this. So this would be a very quick version or variation of that. Let me see if I can even go back. I'll control Z to undo that. So this is what a lot of people might do that just put, kind of put this, if they're in a bind, they're like, oh, SmartArt bailed me out. And you would still want to format away from this ugly kind of default blue. I didn't change much here. I was just trying to show that it could be fast. But you can very quickly break it, drop a rectangle, make some aesthetic changes, and not a lot of people would think this was inspired by a SmartArt graphic. And I'm going to show you how to do this even faster with your text in a second. But that's my kind of first key point about SmartArt, is to really use it as inspiration to kind of quickly crank out slides, and that's the next trick we're going to look at. Is there any questions about breaking SmartArt? That was a fast tip. Hopefully
that was an incredible tip. People loved it.
All right,
we don't have any questions.
Because we're just getting started. The next question, breaking bullet points. This is the killer. This is what everybody loves to talk about. Everyone loves to talk about no bullet points this, bullet points blah. But nobody ever gives you a solution. So let's look at a solution. And I want to first give props to Mr. Berghoff. I found this review online in response to a book that was about not using bullet points. And his whole point was, all the clients from whom I work, I'm assuming he's a consultant or an investment banker, they want bullet points, right? The real challenge, my whole screen just went green. Are you still there?
Yes, we are here. We are seeing your very bright green screen as well.
That was a special shortcut that I just showed you.
Well, I feel like this makes our day brighter, is what it does.
Well, any suggestions on how to get rid of I've never had a magenta green screen like this.
Yeah, Andrew said it's not a bug, it's a feature. Can you, is it your whole screen or is it just your PowerPoint?
My whole screen. It's really cool.
Ah.
I'm going to teach people that shortcut. People I don't like. I'm just kidding.
You could restart
Should I try to restart and log back in? Is that the best?
Yeah, if you do a restart, are you logged in via phone right now?
No.
Like, are you on your phone? Okay. So we will talk amongst ourselves because we've got a few things in here in the chat. So why don't you restart and then just jump back in?
Yeah, grab a coffee. I'll be right back.
Yeah. We'll take a little break. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Just a second.
All right. Thanks. Diane, did you have something that you wanted to add? I know that Diane is the one that actually watched these videos and thought, wow, it might be really great for the group. She might be on mute.
Hey.
Hey, is that you, Diane? Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, great. Yep, sorry, I didn't realize I needed to use the keypad on that. So,
okay.
yeah, I actually, I think it was Karen who put in the chat, boy, I wish I heard this a week ago. And that's exactly the experience that I had because, I was making a deck that was built off of a lot of PowerPoints given that my client used to use, PowerPoints and screenshots were their whole deck, and it was ugly and boring, and I was hired to come in and turn it into instructional design. And so I have all of the hours that I put in reformatting their decks. And then I found Taylor's website. I watched his free stuff, and then I bought his training program, which came with some more videos. It came with his QAT that I could just import. So, and he had some timed tests, which were neat, so you could practice the techniques as you were learning them. And in his practice, my speed went from like doing an example in 17 minutes to being able to do it in like 3.5. It really sped up. And when I applied them to actually doing the 100-slide deck for my client, the first time it had taken me, I don't know, something like 22 hours to do. The next revision for her took 6. So, you know,
Wow.
it was good for me, it was good for them, and, you know, because there's no value really in, you know, taking longer to do a deck. And I think I put it in chat. They had no idea that I was, you know, basing these things off of SmartArt. But it was great. And it helps the client too, because they can keep just creating bullet points, which is easy for them, especially they're software developers who don't necessarily don't like to write, don't like to do a lot of the arts and crafts part of the presentation. I just have them throw bullet points into a slide, and I can manipulate them and make it look really, really good.
That's great. And I really appreciate you, like I said, you know, suggesting that we chat with Taylor, because I've learned a ton already. And I know we've seen a ton, and a lot of people have said, oh, well, I'm going to have to go back through this. I've seen so much, which that's, you know, that's why we record, and you can definitely do that. There's a ton of things we're finding. So thank you very much, Diane.
You're welcome. And I also thought it was just really interesting, Taylor's whole business model, right? When you go through his website and you see how he sells his training, how he markets his training, and I especially love how he delivers it. You know, you'll notice he has a very fast pace. And I think that's something that's, you know, I'm going to look at adopting as I do more webinars, because I think there's a good part to that, especially when you know you could always go back and see it again slower for your own, you know, your own practice.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Okay, well then with that said, we'll jump back into where we were before Kermit took over Taylor's screen.
Awesome, and thank you for that feedback. That was great. I caught the last part of that, so I'm glad that's so helpful. Cool, so I think we were just before I Kermit frogged you, we were doing bullet points. This is my favorite quote from a guy online. I'm going to try not to use that green shortcut again. And the part that I think is the most interesting is that he says, you know, the real challenge he's faced with is, you know, how to take standardized bullet points, make them interesting, informative, and attractive, and conceptual, which is typically what we're trying to do with our slides. But the piece I would add on top is, well, how do you do that without spending all day at the whiteboard, you know, scribbling up, trying to figure out what this looks like? So let's look at how to like fast track this like crazy. So this is just the bullet points. All right, and I threw in some invisible ones at the bottom to show you how this might turn out to you. So just if I shift F5, so I've got bullet points for these first couple points, and I just chose Macy's for whatever reason. And then at the bottom, I don't have bullet points, so these are just blocks of text down below. So the question is, if this was your slide and your boss or director or client was like, help me polish this up for my meeting, you know, where do you start? All right, so just keeping that in mind. How do you even start? So this is another feature that was added 10 years ago that I feel like almost no one's using. If you select, all right, I just have this selected. I'm not doing anything fancy. If you select an object, text box, rectangle, triangle, any object or shape in PowerPoint with text in it, all right, you come up to the Home tab. All right, I'm going to move this off to the left because I think it's going to wig out a little bit. I'm going to move this off to the left. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. So hopefully you can see this a little bit better. Oh, shit, I went the wrong way. Okay, so if you select the object, Home tab, Convert to, watch what happens as I hover over these different shapes. PowerPoint takes the bullet points and starts to throw them at different object classes, giving you a rough cut at what this might look like as you start to work with this text, all right? Now, there's 250 plus SmartArt objects. There's only 16 here. These represent the category headings. So if you pick an object class like this one, I'm just gonna pick this, you're actually going to come up and get in your SmartArt tools a bunch of other objects. Does my graphic look better like this? Does it look better like this? At this point, you're really just looking for inspiration to kick start this whole process, all right? I'm gonna choose this grouped list right now just to give you an idea of what this might look like. I'm gonna align this and send this on my slide. Now notice too, if I Alt-WF for fit to screen, that the bullet points that I had fit perfectly into the shapes. The bullets that weren't bullet points, so the fake bullet points, didn't work. So this might happen to you depending on how your text starts out. This is a super quick and easy fix. If you open up next to the SmartArt graphic, you get this little flywheel. This is in all versions of PowerPoint, even on a Mac. You can see that Macy's came in correctly. 1975, the bullet point. And if I scroll all the way down, you'll see at the bottom that these did not come in. All you have to do is just backspace out or delete the space, hit enter, which will create a new level in SmartArt. You tab forward to demote something, you shift tab backwards. Those are the keyboard shortcuts within SmartArt. Tab forward, shift tab backwards. So if I tab that one forward, I'll come down to the next one. All right, space, tab. I'm gonna close this out. And from here, again, you're just Control-Shift-G once, Control-Shift-G a second time is gonna free you up to start to play around with these different objects any way that you want. And I picked the wrong one, but you could quickly take something like that if you chose a different graphic and build out something like this. So this is, again, just a SmartArt graphic that was very similar to the one I just picked, that you can very quickly break, resize, realign, and throw it onto your slide without having to spend all day thinking about it, all right? So that's how I recommend using SmartArt, and I think it's amazing when you come up with these SmartArt graphics. And if you really want to get fancy, which isn't even hard, you know, duplicate your slides, duplicate your text, choose a SmartArt graphic on one side that you like, choose a second one, break them, start to combine the pieces. You can very quickly start to crank out some unique and interesting layouts, again, without having to spend all day thinking about it. That's cool. All right, so that's for dealing with text. You can actually turn stuff like this back into SmartArt, and we can look at that if you really want to see how to do that. You can inverse text back into shapes, which is kind of cool if you want to start over. Any questions on that? I've got one more hack if we have time.
Of course, we definitely have time. If you have a question, make sure and put it in the chat. For now, I think we're okay. I'll let you know if one comes in, though.
Okay, so that's what I mean by using SmartArt for inspiration. And the last hack I want to look at is something that I call power cropping photos, all right? Who here has spent a bunch of time cropping and resizing photos? So let's say this was my presentation. So Macy's has hired me, which they haven't, but let's say they have. I've got Mr. Macy's here. He's smaller than the other photos. So this is what I think the standard situation with photos is. You get all these photos that someone wants to use, and then your job is to standardize and crop them, right? You want to crop them all to the same size, shape, and position, right? So if you have never cropped a photo in PowerPoint, you know, you select the photo, Picture Tools Format tab, there's this crop item up here, right? So you can just crop your photos, etc. But the question becomes, if you've got a bunch of photos like this, what size do you pick? Which one do you do? You know, Mr. Macy's isn't even really a square. I'll bring him forward. Like, so how do you even go about doing this, all right? I've seen people spend hours cropping photos. And in reality, if you just take all your photos, all right, here's the hack of the century if you've never seen this before. You select all your photos. Doesn't matter how many you have. PowerPoint doesn't care. Go up to the Picture Tools Format tab. I'm going to move these off to the left here so you can see this a little bit better. All right, so there's my photos. Picture Tools Format tab. This is not a hidden feature. Picture layout drop-down. Watch what happens as I hover over different SmartArt graphics. PowerPoint automatically crops and resizes all the photos in one go, and as you'll see in a second, you can break these apart. The two that I use the most is this square grid and this horizontal grid, typically the horizontal grid. All right, I'm going to zoom back in here. I'll center align that. So the beauty of SmartArt is as you start to resize the graphic, so again, this is using SmartArt for what it's good for, it'll automatically resize everything for you, all right? I'll come back to my screen. Once you get to this point, Control-Shift-G once, Control-Shift-G a second time, these become just normal shapes that you can rearrange, pull around, do whatever you want with. All right, and like how long did that take me? A couple seconds. I've seen people spend hours trying to do that exact thing. The one thing to be aware of here, notice this picture, right? It's not centered. A lot of people, you know, I'll show them this trick and they'll go and use it and they're like, oh, it was cool, but it didn't really work because my photos came out like this. PowerPoint gives you 100% control to fix this kind of stuff like this, all right? So if you power crop a photo and it doesn't come out perfectly, what you want to do, I think I even have one. I do have one. Boom. There's the photo. I even have my own example set up for me. So here's the original photo on the right. Here's the photo that comes out on the left. You can see it's not off-centered. The question is, how do you fix it? You come and grab your photo. You right-click, all right? Format picture. This is just, again, 10-year-old features. You come to the picture command. You come to the crop options. Here you have the offset X and offset Y. What that allows you to do, so all PowerPoint's done if I over-click the boundary, it's just cropped the photo and the entire picture is still there. So you can basically have 100% control. If you had a tall photo, you would just rotate it up or down. You rotate it up or down like that. So in a couple of extra clicks, you can, again, crop this. I should have used a higher resolution photo. All right, you do want to use the highest resolution photos you can, but just in a couple seconds, not only did I crop it into a perfect rectangle, all right, I also just fixed it. And once something's cropped like this, all right, don't reinvent the wheel if you want to make it into a circle. If you have this, right, to PowerPoint, a shape is a shape is a shape is a shape, right? You think it's a rectangle, to PowerPoint, it's everything all at the same time. If you take a shape like this with a picture, Drawing Tools Format tab, Edit Shape. Instead of starting all over, change shape, boom. There's a circle, you're on to the next thing. And again, it's just another one of those like weird little hacks just sitting there in PowerPoint that once you know it, can double, triple, quadruple the time you're spending doing these repetitive, annoying tasks that just aren't necessary. Instead, you can start to invest that time on the content of your slide instead. That is the fourth trick. I don't know if we have time to do. Oh, so again, this was an example where after you power crop the photos. So what I basically just showed you, I'll just do it one more time for you in case you missed it. So if these are my photos across the bottom and my client was like, oh, I'd love to have them all be circles, perfect circles. Again, it's as fast as holding shift, I select the photos. All right, Picture Tools Format tab, Picture Layout, pick the perfect square to make a perfect circle. I'm going to Control-Shift-G once, Control-Shift-G the second time. So there's my different objects that I'm using. All right, I'm going to move these around. I'm going to make them a little bit bigger. All right, I'm not even going to worry about the alignment because I have that shortcut set up that I already gave you. Drawing Tools Format tab, Edit Shape, Change Shape. There's my circles. If I go to Align to Slide, I can even align to slide like that. I'll put an outline on them, Shift F5. Obviously, you'd want to make them bigger. Obviously, you need to resize or realign that one, but it can be that fast, all right? That is power cropping photos. So you can break SmartArt, you can break bullet points using SmartArt, you can break pictures into standardized shape using SmartArt. Again, features that have been there for over a decade that almost no one even knows about, and they're just sitting right in front of your very eyes. Did you want to do questions now? I mean, I know that was about 45 minutes. I don't know if you wanted to go and do a countdown timer hack trick.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you have a couple of other things, let's see them. And I just put a notice if people have questions, they'll put them in the chat. I think people are just really excited to see all of the tricks that you're showing us. I mean, I haven't used a ton of these, so.
Cool. Well, yeah, that's right. If you put this stuff into action, you can easily double your productivity. I mean, you can go beyond that, but just with what I showed you, I mean, this is kind of the first level of speed and it's really getting PowerPoint to do the work for you. I mean, it can already do it for you. You just have to know how to tell it. So cool. Let's do a countdown timer. So how do you create something like this that counts down on itself? Oh, I don't have the digital format. Anyway, I'll show you how to do this anyway. The website you would use after we make the pictures is the GIF Maker Me. I'm going to open a different deck. Just give me a second. Let me make sure.
And while you're doing that, just so you know, Kara says she wants to say how much she appreciates your hacks and enthusiasm.
Oh, so, awesome. I'm glad you're doing it. So let me see. Can you see my screen? No. Can you see this one now? Resume my. How do I share? I have to share. I see. Wait a minute.
Yeah, you might have to stop sharing. Okay.
Boom.
Yep, we see it.
Okay, so this is a countdown timer. This is a GIF graphic. This is 60 slides laid on top of each other. This is a video of it. You can build both of these using the same technique. The final piece is this gifmaker.me. This is a free website. You don't have to pay anything to use it. And so if I just shift F5, the GIF graphic will count down automatically. The question people always ask me is, when would you use this? People use this for coffee breaks when they're doing trainings, setting up examples for people to work on in groups. You just basically put this cool little picture graph. It'll count down by itself. It'll automatically start counting down as soon as you hit the slide. The alternative is you turn it into a video, which requires you to push play. That gives you a little bit more functionality. And all this really is 60 slides. If you do 2 minutes, it's 120 slides. If you do 3 minutes, it's 180. You do the math, it's just 60 slides a second. And the question is, how do you build it without spending all day working on it? So Let's do it. And you are going to need Excel, so I am going to have to open Excel in a second. So anyway, the first trick is you need to get a picture of a clock. This is just the picture of a clock I pulled offline because it had my name on it. It's not really my clock, though. So what you want to do, find a picture of a clock. You want it facing you square, like square in the shoulders. You don't want something like diagonal. That creates a really hard effect to make here in PowerPoint. You know, at that point, you're probably going to have to go to Photoshop. That's what it's called. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this slide, and just to give you an idea what most people would do, which we're not going to do, is they would duplicate their slide and duplicate their slide, and they would then, you know, change the number here, and then they would change the number here, and they change the number here. So that's the horrible way to do it. So you're going to take your photo, Control X to cut your photo. Go to the slide master. Using my ribbon guides, it's Alt-W-M. So Alt for view, Alt for the guides, W for view, M for slide master. You're going to paste it in on a blank slide. All right? You're going to grab an object, and you're going to cover up the numbers. Okay? I'm just going to use this rectangle. This is nothing fancy. To get the same color, if you have PowerPoint 2003, 2013, 2016, you have a color drip feature, the eyedropper. Do you guys know this? The eyedropper will let you pick up a color to hide things. If you don't have PowerPoint 2013 or 2016, you want to go to a site called Color, C-O-L-O-R, COP, C-O-P for like police officer. ColorCop.net has a free add-in that you can download and basically do the same thing. So you're going to cover up the numbers. The next thing you need to do, and this is important, you want to come to the Slide Master tab up here. You need to add the title. Where you will mess this up is you're going to, if you insert a placeholder, this will mess it up. You don't want to add a placeholder. You want to add the title. Okay? You're just going to crunch it onto the shape here. I'm going to type 0:0. I'm going to Control-Shift, forward caret, the font size up. If you go back to that slide I originally showed you, I don't think I have it installed here, but you can download free. Let me see if I can have it digital. I already have it. Digital 7 Italic is just a free font I downloaded online to give it more of the clock effect. You don't have to do that, but it's an easy download to get. So that's what you're doing. So right now, all I have is I have my title. I have this rectangle filled on top. I could have just used this and filled it the same color, but I used a couple of objects. Doesn't make a big difference. So far, so good. On the Slide Master, covered my time, put the time, Alt-W-L to go back to the normal view. You can see the timer is not there. Just reset it, and boom. So now we basically have what we need to get this going. But what we're not going to do, which is what a lot of people would do, right? They would write 1 minute. Then they would Control-Shift-D to duplicate their slide, and they would go 0:59. And then they would go to the next one, the next one, the next one, the next one, right? That takes all day long. And then someone's like, make a 10-minute clock, and then you're 10 times as long, and they want a different thing, and it's just total pain. So what you're going to do, open up Excel. I'm going to open up Excel. I will have to reshare my new window. Give me a second. I'm learning how to use Zoom.
You're doing great.
So here I am in Excel. Nothing fancy. What you're going to do, start your countdown. All right? So this is the only manual typing. You're going to start your countdown. I'll Control-Z to zoom in. Or Control-Spin will zoom in. So don't try to do any fancy mathematics here. Just start your countdown. If it was 10 minutes, make the next one 9:59. If it was 3 minutes, 2:59. Then just use this auto drag feature here in Excel to just drag down, all right, all the way to 0. Those are my 60 slides. So I'm going to turn this set of cells into 60 PowerPoint slides. All right, so if you had 120 minutes or 102 minutes, you'd have 120 slides. Control-C to copy. This is going to get very precise. Control-C to copy your list of words or your list. Go back to PowerPoint. I need to reshare my PowerPoint. Just a second.
We can see your PowerPoint.
Oh, you can? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In PowerPoint, this is important. Go to the outline view. I don't even know how to get there other than a shortcut. The shortcut is Control-Shift-Tab. Control-Shift-Tab is going to pop you into the outline view here. All right?
Mm-hmm.
You are going to Control-V to paste. And it's going to look like a mess. Don't give up on me yet. Control-V to paste. All right? Has anyone used the special paste, special flywheel option? you want to come and open up this flywheel and paste as text only. Why do you want to paste as text only? Because that will force the formatting to fit the placeholder, which is important, right? We don't want to reformat something after we paste it in. So if you paste as text only, it will move itself into the placeholder, and it's still going to look not very good, but just there is one more step. So after you've pasted as text, you're just going to highlight everything. Hopefully this works first time through. You're just going to tab it forward, which makes it seem like nothing's happened. Control Shift Tab backwards, and you will have just created, I've lost, let me see. I lost my slide, so I will change. Oh my gosh, I lost it. I deleted my own slide. I'm in control to undo that. Give me a second. What happened?
Did you paste it into your actual demo? You had 2 different PowerPoint files open. Did you paste it into the wrong one?
Yeah, I don't know. Listen, I'm gonna try this again. One more time. Control T for text only. Here we go. It's gonna work. Boom. Tab backwards. Bling! There we go.
Woohoo!
So if I Control Shift F5, look, this is now 60 slides. So it's basically what I've done is I've leveraged the Slide Master to make all of the slides from the picture that I set up. I've used the title content placeholder. I've pasted the text in from Excel and then forced it all into 60 new title placeholder content. So now I have the countdown. If I just kind of quickly flip through this, from here what you're going to do, all right, I'm just going to Control Shift Tab to go back out so you can see all of the 60 slides there that didn't take very long at all, including my mess up. What you're going to do from here, if you're just going to run this out of a PowerPoint deck, you're not going to make a GIF graphic or a video. You're going to insert, no, you're not going to insert that. You're going to go transitions, all right? You're going to go to the fade transition is probably what I would use. You're going to come over to, got to move my window. Instead of on mouse click over here, you're going to go to after 1 second, right? Because it's 1 second. You're going to apply to all. If I then Shift F5 to go to presentation mode, this is now going to start to count down step by step by step. So that's already an automatic countdown timer here in PowerPoint, just a couple of seconds using Excel. Notice here that my graph, I can't even stop it now. Notice that my picture here is a little warped and grainy. That's just because I downloaded a smaller picture because I like the Taylor. You'd obviously want to get a higher resolution photo here. If you want the GIF graphic or you want that video, all you're going to do is you're going to save as F12 on your keyboard. We'll bring up the Save As dialog box, which is going to give you a bunch of different options. Again, most people haven't discovered or looked at any of these. You have the option to save your slides as pictures. I'm not going to do it here. If I saved this as a picture and I click Save, it would say, do you want to save just the slide you're on, or do you want to save all your slides? You'd say all your slides is going to create a folder on your desktop with an M, a PNG, or a JPEG, whichever one you choose on your desktop. You will then go to this free website, gifmaker.me. Okay, let's see if I will share the screen here. I will just walk you through really quickly. So it'll take a second. Can you see?
Just so you know, we've got a 1 minute countdown.
That's right. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the site. It's super simple. You're going to have all those photos sitting on your desktop. You really just come and click the upload images. It's going to take a minute to upload. That's why I won't do it here. You just need to scroll down, set your animation speed to 1,000 milliseconds is 1 second. That's it. And then you'll either say create GIF graphic, which again, I'll show you what that is. That's that thing that automatically counts down, or create video animation. If I just Alt-Tab back to PowerPoint, this is the GIF graphic here on the left. This is the video on the right. Again, the difference is if you run this, Shift F5.
Let's see. We are just seeing the GIF maker. Yep.
So, let me see. I gotta flip my PowerPoint. Let me see. Okay, here I am. Zoom's not following me around fast enough.
I know, it's not
gotta increase their bandwidth.
As fast as you are. There we go.
Okay, so here we go. So this is what the GIF graphic, which is again was just one of the options. This is the video animation. If I Shift F5, the GIF graphic will just be I've got the transitions on this now. Oh my gosh. Let me try. The GIF graphic will it's gonna kill me here. Apply to all. That's what happens when I start to chop my decks up. Now let's try it. Shift F5. Anyway, the GIF graphic will do it automatically. The video will be a video that you can click play and control it if you want to do it that way. That's, again, super fast hack. You're not going to spend a bunch of time retyping a bunch of text and trying to do all the math on your own. Let Excel and PowerPoint do all the heavy lifting for you. All you need to know is those couple of quick hacks or tricks to get it done.
Oh, am I so happy I'm so happy we stayed and that you did that. That is so incredible. We don't have any questions. We're at the top of the hour, so just to be mindful of time, we'll conclude. But I put the link to your website where folks can find out more information about videos and things that you offer. Everyone, let's, chat love. Thank you so much, Taylor, for spending an hour with us today. And I mean, I have learned, 8 hours worth of things. It's incredible. So
awesome. I'm glad that was helpful. I truly believe everybody can triple whatever speed you think you're at right now. You can triple your productivity, in PowerPoint, Excel, and Word. And the beauty is once you get it in one program, right? Microsoft is all about standardizing their programs. If you figure out how to do it in PowerPoint or Excel or Word, you can basically flip and apply all the same strategies and techniques to the other program, and you start to get these triple dippers. That's triple dippers.
Triple
and why
dipper.
would you ever do it any other way? So there you go.
Yeah. Well, and Christy says even as a former Microsoft Office trainer, she picked up a few new things. So that's
awesome.
really cool.
I'm glad.
Yeah. Okay, well, with that, we'll go ahead and conclude. Thank you so much, Taylor, again, and I'll send you the recording of this. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful week. I'll see you all the next week, same time, same place. Have a wonderful day.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye.